Awesome. Happy Tuesday, guys. I am here with a very special guest. You may recognize her because she's awesome and she's everywhere. But this is my friend Tash Reynolds, and we wanted to share with you a little bit today about her experience with me and her intuitive nutrition session. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the term intuitive nutrition session, don't worry, we're going to get into it here. But you might have noticed over the last few weeks here in the group, we've been talking about food being energy, food having energy, as well as food having the ability to help to heal the body. So what I want to do this week is really bring together these two ideas of food and energy being ways that we can really heal the body. And this is what comes together during our intuitive nutrition sessions, which is something very special that I offer. I actually don't know anybody else that offers something like this. And that's why I feel like it is such a powerful way to not only get to the next level of your own wellness journey, but also to bring in the intuitiveness that I have, as well as fostering that within you. So before we get started on what Tash thought of her intuitive nutrition session, I want to give her a moment to share who it is that she is and what it is that she does. Go ahead, Tash.
Thank you. So my name is Tash Reynolds. It's funny because actually now I'm also remembering after our session, I incorporated the word intuitive into my title. But I consider myself an intuitive business and mindset coach. I primarily coach female entrepreneurs who are looking to build businesses, hustle-free businesses that are in alignment with who they are. And so I'm very, very fortunate to work with incredible women who are looking to do that. I do that in a whole bunch of different ways. But yeah, so primarily coaching. I also do human design reading to help people align according to how they were designed. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
I love it. So awesome. So I had asked Tash if she wanted to do a session with me. This was kind of at the beginning when I was really experimenting with the different things that I had learned around energy healing modalities, as well as how food can be an amazing way to supplement any energy blocks that you may be feeling. And so if this term sounds a little foreign to you, what I basically mean is sometimes we get energy stuck in the body at different points within the body, and it can be really difficult to get that unstuck. And so that is something that I help you with during these sessions, as well as providing some information on the nutrition that can really help to continue that unblocking. So Tash, when we were coming into this session, what were you thinking about? How were you feeling? What were you hoping would happen?
So truthfully, when we first did the session, I really didn't know what to expect. I came in without a whole lot of knowledge other than like this goal of, going through a process that was going to enable me to have some, I want to say like tangible things that I could do, right? Like, what can I do after of this? Because I really didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea where my blocks necessarily were. Yeah, I just was looking for some kind of tangible thing at the end.
Yeah. You wanted it to feel real.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I feel like I knew it was going to feel real. I didn't anticipate the flow. And I don't know if it's just that we hadn't chatted about it. So what I loved was I was like constantly surprised in it.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about that. What was the first surprise?
Well, so the first surprise is that we did a card pull. So I wasn't expecting that we would do the card pull. I expected the meditation, the energy shift, because I think I knew that was going to happen. And then I didn't expect a few things. I didn't expect to have such a connection as we were going through the meditation. To you, if that makes sense. But like Renata and I were just chatting about how it was like I knew what you were going to say before you said it. And so I was very, very much in the meditation. And as I was walking through, it was very bizarre to see things before you actually said them out loud. So it was a really deep but fascinating. And I think for me was like, I was crazy. Like, how did I know that? And then at the end, your ability to take the card pull and what you were seeing or feeling from a nutrition perspective and where you felt like I was stuck and blocked. And And of course that made complete sense to me obviously. And I was like, yeah, that like sounds exactly right. And then of course the tangible being, what kind of changes can I make to help this?
Yeah, totally. So just to break it down for people a little bit more, Tash talked about cards. And so I love using oracle cards. These are the ones that I have. And I think that Tash, you have the same ones.
Mhm.
Just by happenstance, we have the same ones. But I use this as my first tool to really help to get into other people's energies. So that just means you have the ability to pick at random some cards that are going to give you an indication or some guidance on something that you may be thinking, feeling, or worried about. And so we use the cards to kind of give us that guidance, as well as it being the opportunity for me to really feel into your energy before we move into the meditation. And meditation is just another amazing energy healing modality that we often don't use to its fullest extent. And that's why guided meditations are so powerful, like the one that Tash experienced. So as you can tell from the way that she explained it, we were very connected, even virtually, while we were doing the meditation. And that's why she was able to almost like predict what I was going to say next, as well as have a great like emotional response to it. And the emotional response is the energy being released. It's that blocking being released, that you don't have to keep holding it inside of your body anymore. And then the next part of it was really moving into each of her chakras. So we have 7 main chakras that we typically talk about in the body. And we went through each of the chakras to figure out, what impressions am I getting from an intuitive level that would give me an indication as to what nutrition could help her. And most specifically, we talked about having a healthy gut. And this is something that we actually shared in the group last week around like, how do we make our guts healthier? So I went into a lot of detail with Tash around some simple changes. And this is the tangible part. What are some simple changes that she can implement to help her gut become healthier? So what was a couple of things that you took away from that specific conversation around improving your gut health?
So the 2 that I can really remember one was to drink more water, which for sure. And of course, you wouldn't know how much water I drink, but it was 100% something that I'm constantly working on, is this need to drink more water. And the second one was to actually add spinach to my smoothie, to get more greens into my smoothie. And so that was the biggest shift and change that I made, is that I started adding greens to my smoothie every day. Of course, I'm, trying to drink more water, especially during the day. Those are the 2 biggest changes for sure. And I can see that since that time, I've had significant change in my gut health, significant. There's a few other things that I can't remember if it was the conversation that you and I had, but just this, for me in particular, being really important, staying consistent, making sure I'm eating well every single day. And, for me, that means having that smoothie every morning, because it's chock full of all the things that I feel like would take me all day to eat, but I can actually just drink and get it done with. And, adding the spinach, it sounds really random, but adding this spinach, maybe not to you, actually made my smoothie way more filling. So what I find is, because I have this smoothie in the morning, I actually really am not hungry until lunch. It's very rare that I want to eat before lunch. And for me, that's a big change, because I'm a constant snacker. Like, I eat all the time. In the afternoons, it tends to look like that now. But since adding the spinach, I tend to just have my smoothie, my coffee, and then it's just like drink the water. And that consistency is what keeps me regular. It's what keeps my stomach way better. Actually, another change that I made, just remembered, is I used to put almond milk, because I can't have regular milk, but I used to put almond milk in my smoothie, and I switched to water instead. And that's also had a really, it doesn't taste any different, but I find it just way easier on my stomach. So
that's amazing. I didn't know that one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to show you too, like all of these things that Tash and I talked about, where basically I get these impressions, these intuitive hits is what I call it, as to what things I feel like could be really helpful for her to continue this unblocking, especially through like her lower 3 chakras. They are all backed up by science. So as Tash mentioned, adding greens to your smoothie, and if you've been following any of my smoothie recipes for any length of time, that is something I highly recommend to add. One, you're going to get additional fiber, which is obviously good for our digestion, as well as helping us to feel full. Two, it's also really high in a powerful antioxidant called glutathione. And so, having antioxidants in our diets just helps to get rid of any free radicals that we may get through our environment or through other like foods that are not great for us. So we want to make sure we're getting those antioxidants as well, which are also, funnily enough, amazing for anti-aging. So I'm going to say that that's why Tash looks so youthful. And then number three, greens actually trigger a specific hormone in the body that helps us to feel full. So just in case you ever eat a meal that's lacking any greens and you're like, man, I could eat a whole nother plate, add some greens to your plate. It's really going to help you feel full. And this is the scientific evidence, if you want to use that word, to show that this is working. And I love the fact that Tash shared that she's really having a profound impact from making these very tangible changes to how she's eating and drinking during the day.
Yeah, for sure. I think, this past year, particularly these past 6 months, I would say I'm in a very, like in the coaching world, I would say someone's going through a massive growth change, right? Like my shift has been really profound in just like who I am being and what I'm becoming. And it's been really hard on my chakra system. Like I feel like, as you're shifting and changing so quickly, you can get blocks, right? Because your mind is going to bring up all these things and say, whoa, like, whatever, whatever that thing is, whether it's, you can't do this, you don't know enough, you need more, you don't have enough of that thing, or whatever is happening in your brain that then affects your body, or whatever is happening in your environment then affects your body. And so I think having, a plan or having some tools like to lean on, to be like, okay, let's find a way to flush this, to keep this system in check. It allows that process to be smoother. And for us to make those leaps or those changes, in a way without compromising your health. And that might sound really weird and vague, but whenever we're going through massive changes, we tend to lean back on our subconscious programming. So the way that we typically do things is our brain's way of protecting us, right? So if we're not used to eating, for example, greens or like healthy things, and you're going through these changes, your body's like looking for these consistencies. So let's say you lean on sugars or, not great things in your diet. That's where you're just going to want to crave. That's what you're going to go for. That's what's naturally going to happen because your brain's using up energy to actually shift you and change you in other ways. When you have a plan of like, no, this is the consistent thing that makes sure you're getting this, and to lean on that instead, then it actually stops your brain from going to the other place. So I just really feel like, having what you're doing, Renata, like an intuitive nutrition session where someone can then say, okay, this is what I need. This is what my body needs. It can then trigger that to lean on it instead of going back to our past habits which would just slow the growth process, really. Right. So anyway, that's totally my download on that.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you. Okay. So guys, if you're interested in doing an intuitive nutrition session, please feel free to let me know. We can get you booked in. It would be amazing to do this 1 hour to even a 90-minute session if we want to go really in depth. But before I let Tash go, I do want to get one more question in. So Tash, if someone is sitting on the fence about booking an intuitive nutrition session, you've really piqued their interest in terms of what happens during the session and how it can be so impactful for them, but they're a little worried, they're not really sure if they should do it. What would be your final words of wisdom to them?
Wow, that's a surprise question, Renata.
That is.
Sorry. I would say, like, what do you have to lose? I mean, at the end of the day, I think we need to lean more into growth practices. I think we need to learn more about what's going to serve and nurture our bodies. And Renata, you bring a wealth of knowledge, and I love this, right? Like, I love when you can combine your scientific practices and knowledge, that's not a word, knowledge,
we'll cut that part
with
out.
The spiritual world, right? Like, we know that there's information all around us. Our bodies are taking in all kinds of things. We feel that, right? We feel that. And so, I think that if someone is looking to tap into how they can propel themselves forward, how they can start living, a healthier way to help deal with ailments or struggles or things that they're having that they don't even know like where they're coming from. Like I would say a lot of my gut issues were not a result of food. They're actually a result of other things that's happening in my life and my environment. It's just using food to help me navigate and heal that helps that process go faster. So if you're not even sure why you have certain things going, it doesn't even have to be like, it's not necessarily gut, like maybe it's skin, maybe it's like, you know, you have dry skin, you have acne, maybe it's, you know, it's in a different part of your body, your wrist hurts. Like there are probably things that you can do and eat that's actually going to nurture those parts of your body. So my words of wisdom would be more of a question, like, why not? What do you have to lose? If you need to make a change, I think starting with your, like with what you eat is really a great first place.
I agree. Amazing. Thank you so much for answering that tricky question that I threw at you last minute.
You're so welcome.
And thank you for sharing your journey and your experience of doing an intuitive nutrition session. It was so amazing to be able to connect with you there, as well as to know that one, you're one of the most amazing women I know, the most supportive, encouraging women I know. And I'm so thankful for you. So have an amazing rest of your day, guys. Make sure you connect with Tash, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.